We're going to call the regular meeting of the City Council to order. Lena, can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Garcia,
Here.
Councilmember Linus,
Here.
Vice Mayor Altamirano,
Here.
and Mayor Guimeda.
Here. And just for the record, our Councilwoman Oralia Rebollo is unable to attend today because she's with her son at one of the water polo events with the rest of our water polo children as well. So she won't be here today. Thank you. And could I please, I'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by our Library Director, Sonia Bautista. Would everybody please stand and please remain standing for the invocation by Council Member Linus. Thank you.
Please place your right hand over your heart. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, justice for all.
Tonight, we come together and work towards a shared purpose of building a healthier and safer community for our families. Inspired by the diversity of perspectives and experiences in this room, we acknowledge that open dialogue and collaboration are essential to achieving our shared objectives. We remain mindful of the trust our residents place in us. This trust demands that we govern with integrity, transparency, and accountability, always prioritizing the greater good and the well-being of all of our constituents. May our efforts today be guided by wisdom and driven by a commitment to building a better future for the model city, grounded in cooperation, respectful collaboration, and a shared vision of progress. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Director Bautista and Councilmember Linus. And at this time, we're going to move to public comment. And we have a couple of cards. Our first speaker, Jason Stinnett, Gardea Stinnett. Is he out there? Maybe, yeah, I was sitting here, so I thought that was the first speaker. All right. We'll leave it here just in case he shows up. Honey Bizarro? I hope I pronounced the last name correctly? Yes. All right, good.
Alrighty. Hello, council members. My name is Honey Bizarro. I am an active member of this community, and I greatly appreciate your dedication to serving our city's needs. I kindly request that you prioritize responding to emails about concerned community members. Your timely responses are really essential to fostering open dialogue and transparency between elected officials and community members. I recently sent an email about a month and a half ago now on June 3rd through your Commerce website as well as other community members, and no one has replied to us yet. And I was wondering if I could get a time frame on how long those emails are responded to, and just kind of feedback on getting a direct line of communication with you so we can have some discourse and dialogue on some things that I'm concerned about.
If you don't mind, may I just interrupt you for a second? They were addressed to, where did you send the emails to?
All 5 of the council members. The website gives an opportunity to email them to all 5.
Okay.
And I did email them to all 5 as well as other community members. And some did it in June, some did it in the beginning of July, some did it last week, and we haven't gotten a response from any of us. So I'm just curious on a time frame for that. I would love to obviously converse with you guys and talk about something I'm concerned about. And then also I would point out that the lack of accessibility, I have made a public comment in the past that there is no accessibility Spanish translation at City Hall meetings, and interpretation for Spanish in a Latino-dominated community is really, really important, and it demonstrates a commitment to accessibility, promoting transparency and accountability. My other ask is that you consider adding interpretation into your costs for the city budget on all city council meetings. Also, I would like to note that the agenda that you do provide is also only in Spanish, so community members still can't get any type of translation on what occurred today. Thank you so much. We appreciate your just support and your consideration in our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments today, and thank you for bringing the attention to the fact that you sent us those emails. I don't believe not all of us have direct access to the email that's assigned to us here at City Hall, but we'll make sure we check, and I'm sure everybody here heard it, and we'll check and we'll make sure to get back to you. Thank you. Ida Vega.
Buenas tardes, miembros del concilio. Mi nombre es Aida Vega y soy de la comunidad. Gracias por todo el trabajo y el servicio que brindan a la ciudad de Commerce.
My name's Aida. I'm part of the community, and thank you for all the work that you do and the service that you bring and help to the community of Commerce.
Amablemente le solicitamos responder los correos electrónicos que enviamos nuestras preocupaciones hace un mes y medio y hasta ahora no hemos recibido respuesta de ustedes.
Please consider responding to our emails online that we have sent about our concerns for the city, as well as we sent them a month and a half ago.
Quisiéramos saber si hay un plazo para ustedes puedan responder los correos electrónicos del sitio web que tienen en la página de la ciudad.
Aida is asking if there is a time frame to knowing how long it would take for a response to be made on all emails sent through the city website.
También es algo difícil para la comunidad que hablamos español comunicarnos con ustedes o asistir a las reuniones del concilio, participar activamente en las reuniones cívicos o hacer un comentario público o comunicarnos con ustedes de una manera que ustedes nos puedan entender y nosotros a ustedes.
So it's really difficult for a community that only speaks Spanish to talk with amongst you guys, as well as help or learn from the council city hall meetings, or participate in activism or in just civil unions, as well as make public comments and communicate in a way with you guys.
No sé si ustedes nos pudieran proporcionar interpretación a la comunidad que hablamos español. Ahorita estaba viendo también la agenda. Nosotros que somos de la comunidad español no podemos traducir, pero nos va a costar tiempo hacerlo. Nos gustaría que ustedes nos provieran en español también la agenda.
We would love for interpretation to be considered and possible at all city hall meetings, as well as translation. Ida pointed out translation is not made for the printed agenda as well, and she would want it to be printed in Spanish to understand and be more engaged with this.
Esperamos que en las futuras reuniones que ustedes tengan nos proporcionen interpretación a la comunidad que habla español.
Please consider the importance of translation for people who speak Spanish.
Muchas gracias y apreciamos su trabajo, su liderazgo en la comunidad y espero nos puedan responder nuestros correos electrónicos que enviamos. Muchas gracias por escuchar.
thank you for your work, and we wait to get a response on the emails as well as the translation. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, señora Vega. Y le repito que sí vamos a tomar sus comentarios y vamos a discutir esto en el futuro. Y todos los miembros del concilio ya tomaron notas sobre sus comentarios. Y me imagino que vamos a checar las emails electrónicos y sí respondemos con ustedes. Gracias. Jasmine Gonzalez.
Good evening, Council. My name is Jasmine Gonzalez. I do live in the City of Commerce. I'm a member of the community, and I also work with East Yard Communities for Environmental Justice. I do a lot of work with the community, and so I support them in advocating for themselves. And so, as you heard before, we've supported tenants in emailing y'all and trying to address some of the issues that they've been experiencing. And so I hope that we can get more community members into these meetings, because we know that we all have different perspectives, different angles, and we want to make sure that everything works for all of the community, including Spanish-speaking community members. And so I hope y'all will take our comments into consideration to take reasonable steps towards maybe providing interpretation. So thank you for allowing us the time. You guys have a good evening. Thank you.
Ms. Gonzalez, thank you for your comments, and I assure you we'll take all of the comments into consideration as we move forward. Thank you. Anthony Loera?
Good evening, council members. My name is Anthony Laura. I've been a resident here at Commerce since 2008, and I have seen mostly the Commerce grow the way it is today. But as I'm here, because the rent's too high, the increase of how the managers control I don't know more than the annual rate is. That was 2 years ago. It was $185, and it keeps climbing. I came here at $1,050. Almost to $2,000 now. That money could be going to my kids' clothing, shoes, because everything of the high inflation is really high. So my comments to I did email Hugo, your email, and another cousin, she's not here, Rebello, and you guys didn't respond. I don't know what your time frame is. Maybe you didn't get them. Maybe you guys don't care. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So I'd like to know what it is, the time frame, and that's my comment to you guys.
Thank you. We'll definitely take a look at it. And I responded earlier, and what I was saying is that I don't use the city email provided. I actually have a Gmail account that I generally use. But I'll make sure we get that updated, or make sure that I do check the account that is created here in the city, that I take a look at it. So I'll make sure to, one of the two, I'll make sure that I look at that. And for the other council member, city manager, please make sure that she also gets the public comment, the comments that were made, so that she too, since she's not here today, she's currently at a water polo game with her son and the rest of our kids from our water polo team. So that way she'll be aware of the comments that were made as well.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll do, Honorable Mayor, and staff will actually see the gentleman before he leaves, just to give him some basic information, because the city does have regulations related to rent.
Okay.
They can explain that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I know that following this meeting, we'll probably have more discussion on this. And I think we should all get an update, because I believe in the past we've had an interpreter. And I'd like to know what's, hopefully we can get an update as to, you know, what took place, because we did have one and evidently we no longer have that. So I just want to know what took place. So maybe at a later time we can update the rest of us so we can make decisions moving forward in the future.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Loera. And that concludes our public comment today. I'm going to move to consent calendar, and under consent, we have items let me see, 1 through 6. Would anybody like to pull any items on the consent? If not, a motion would be in order to approve the consent calendar.
Mayor, if no questions or no pulling of any items, I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, a motion passes. Thank you all, and we'll move to scheduled matters, and we'll start with item number 7. Presentation and update from our Sheriff's Department of Public Safety in the City of Commerce. Sergeant Duarte.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. I will be presenting the report for the City of Commerce. It will be from January 1st to July 20th. As you can see, aggravated assaults for July, we have 11. Robberies, we have 4. Burglaries, we have 8. Other thefts, we have 28. And auto thefts, we have 19. We have 0 arsons for July. On the next slide, you will find Part 1 crimes from July 1st to July 20th for the City of Commerce in comparison to surrounding cities, Cudahy, Maywood, and East LA. The City of Commerce had 11 assaults, 4 robberies, 8 burglaries, 28 other thefts, 19 auto thefts. So robberies, we had 4. 3 of them were armed. 1 was by force or fear. A total of 8 burglaries. None of them were residential. They were commercial. 4 during the night, 4 unknown time. Total thefts were 28. 12 were grand theft over $950. 5 were from vehicles. 11 were under $950. This is the updated heat map you'll be seeing on your screen. This is from July 1st through July 15th. So you can see where the crimes are occurring, the areas, and there's a legend on, it would be my right-hand side, what's the incidents occurring in the City of Commerce. Okay, on the next slide, I'll go over commerce activities. On July 10th, deputies assisted code enforcement with an inspection search warrant regarding an Airbnb. On July 13, 2024, deputies provided security for the Concert in the Park event at Rosewood. On July 15, 2024, a FROC kit assisted deputies to locate, recover stolen vehicle, which had been stolen earlier in the day from LAPD area. The suspect was arrested for driving a vehicle without owner's consent. On the same day, deputies responded to an assault with a deadly weapon. Call tag 225. The suspect barricaded himself inside a vehicle. Detective Division, Crime Team Negotiation, MET Team, and SCBR responded. A search warrant was authored. After several hours, the suspect was taken into custody. The suspect was arrested for attempt murder and additional numerous charges. The suspect is still in custody and has a future court date. On July 17, deputies assisted social worker Ed Salcido with unhoused cleanups throughout the City of Commerce. A Hispanic male doe was cited for an outstanding warrant. Same date, a FROC kit assisted deputies in recovering a Dodge Charger vehicle and arresting an African-American suspect for driving a stolen vehicle and are charged with 3 outstanding warrants. On the same day, deputies responded to the Aquatic Center regarding a fight disturbance at the location. An incident report was completed. On July 18, 2024, a FROC kit assisted deputies in locating, recovering a stolen chassis The victim had located his chassis but had not contacted law enforcement to get it removed from the stolen system. Deputies were conducting a patrol check of Commerce Liquor Rear Alley. Deputies detained, arrested, and cited 3 male adults, Hispanics, for drinking in public. On the next slide, I will, and pardon the dates are incorrect. That's going to be from July 1st to July 20th. We had 26 felony arrests, 1 for attempt murder suspect, 1 for a murder suspect, 4 robbery suspects, 1 attempt robbery suspect, 4 stolen vehicle suspects, and 4 vandalism suspects. We had 21 misdemeanor arrests. And I will leave it for any questions.
Is there any comments or questions? City Council? Yes, Kevin, Councilmember Linus?
Thank you, Mayor. Sergeant, thank you so much for the report. A couple of things. One, I just want to thank you and commend you and your team for the work that you've done over the past couple of weeks, specifically the incident at Atlantic and Harbor at the Lucky Guys shopping center, where there was a long-standing kind of negotiation and incident, and ultimately the suspect was taken into custody, but without any harm or any real incident. So I just want to thank you and your team and everybody else involved for your patience and just making sure that a good job was done there, because I know it was a really, really intense situation. The other thing I wanted to ask about, ideally one day I would like to get to a point where we could maybe understand what like the average response times are for different types of calls for service that people make, because as I walk through the community and talk to different people, I get very disparate accounts of how quickly the sheriffs come, and I understand that like different calls of service have different priority levels, right? So that's certainly something to take into consideration. But is there a way, and it doesn't have to be now, it doesn't have to be next report, but is there a way where we could somehow incorporate response times into our
Yes.
reports?
Yes, I could do that, and I could do them either monthly or we could do them bi-weekly. Or council wishes, I could do that.
Okay. I think monthly would be fine, at least from my perspective, just to understand, what we're measuring, and if there's areas where maybe we can improve, or we could at least see the data in front of us, right? That would be helpful to me at least, and I'm sure to my colleagues as well. But those are my comments. Again, great job, and thank you for the report.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Linus. Thank you. No additional comments? I'm just gonna follow up real quickly with just some comments again. Thank you for the report. I think it's good to review statistics and look at that. The response time, I think that was just made, the request made, I think is also good, because you do hear that out there. Usually you will hear different things about calls being made, maybe not getting a response, or them taking a little while to get there, and so that would be helpful, I think. I did want to touch bases on the amount of activity that we've seen more recently. It seems to me we're getting more activity, I mean, you mentioned on the 15th, we had 2 of them back to back, and I just happened to have seen both of them. I was leaving on Atlantic, and I was headed to Target, and coming out, I saw the units pull up over at the Bandini Market, and I believe that was the vehicle that was picked up with a license plate reader. It was a stolen vehicle, I believe, which is great. We're definitely doing good. We're picking up more activity as a result of that, and we're recovering stolen vehicles. And then on my way back from Target, as I was coming back, now I've got sheriffs passing me as I'm driving down on Atlantic, and I got to see the situation as it was unfolding over in Calimix, and that was the individual which had a handgun. He had a handgun, and of course you've already reported on what took place, and thank goodness that ended up nobody was hurt in that, which was good. And I know that our deputies and the units that responded, they really used a great deal of restraint to not have to, do anything, and they were able to apprehend the individual, and that was good. But I think overall, we need to somehow, and city manager, this is a little bit more for us to have some discussion. I want to make sure that the community knows that we've deployed the license plate readers. As a result of that, there's more activity now. We're picking up more activity. So on one hand, it looks like there's more crime or things are happening out there. Hey, every other day we're having the helicopter above us, et cetera, et cetera. Well, when they're pursuing a stolen vehicle, I believe you also sometimes deploy the helicopter to help and assist with that. And, I know that we just need to explain to the community, I think, so that they're aware of the activity. Part of it is good, and the other part of it is people now are interpreting it as there's a lot more activity out there, and they are not sure why these things are happening. But in a way, we need to explain them, I think. We need to be able to let them know that, as a result of what we've done, we're actually, recovering more vehicles, and the technologies that we've deployed are working, but also it leaves people out there with the interpretation that there's more crime. No, we've always had it. We've had a lot of this. It's just a lot of times it went unnoticed. We didn't realize there was a stolen vehicle going through our community, or maybe it's going through and it gets parked in our community and then it's just left there. But now it's being picked up, and of course that means more work for our law enforcement group. So I just want to make sure we properly communicate that somehow to the community. We need to kind of keep them in the loop as to what we've done, the changes, why they're seeing more activity. And I think it's good. It's positive. It means that people are going to begin to not want to be coming through our city. If they're stealing a vehicle, they're not going to want to be driving through the community. So I just want to figure out a way for us to properly communicate to the community of these new changes recently that have taken place that are yielding good positive results, but they just need to be aware and made aware of these changes that we've made. So again, Sarge, that was just a follow-up that I had, and I wanted to just share that with you and share it with our staff as well, so that we can better communicate that to our community as to what's taking place. It's not that we've got more crime taking place in the community. It's just that now we're picking up vehicles that are being stolen, and thank goodness to these cameras that have been deployed that read license plate readers. And if a vehicle is stolen, we are picking it up. So thank you. Appreciate the good job you and your team are doing out there. Thank you. And thank you for your report. All right, sir, where are we? Okay, this brings us to item number 8, approval of capital improvement program for fiscal year 2024-2025.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, good evening. I'm happy to be here this evening to present on next year's capital improvement program. But first, I'd like to give you a recap so you have an updated overview of what has been accomplished to date and where we're at with projects that are underway currently. So we begin with our completed projects, which includes the street and sidewalk improvements, Mixed Masters Phase 1, Ferguson sidewalk installation and restriping. Median improvements included Eastern and Commerce Way. Facility improvements include Commerce retaining wall and the BVAC pool filtration replacement of those filters. Facility improvements included roof replacements at Senior Center, Bandini Park, and Teen Center. Facility improvements also include basketball court resurfacing at Rosewood, Bristow, and Bandini Parks. Water conservation and beautification here at the Civic Center, drought tolerant landscape project, and Central Library Learning Garden. A new kiosk out front of City Hall for digital, quick information to the community. Wayfinding sign installations at 46 locations. Central Library Learning Garden reading patio. Thank you to Sonia, our library director, for hosting a grand opening today, and for council who were able to attend. That seems to be a very, very popular use of space these days, so I'm happy about that one. Projects that are in design, we're still working on the monument sign project at the I-5 off-ramp, southbound off-ramp at Eastern. That currently we're still awaiting for Edison's approval, and then it'll move on to Caltrans. We've got street improvements and beautification projects under design at Slauson, and let me use mine here. So the most updated information on Slauson right now is that we had presented back in January to the I-710 TAC a request for $12 million for construction, and we are currently awaiting a Metro Board meeting that will be held on Thursday of this week for approval, which has been recommended to the board. So hopefully we'll have some good news soon, and additional monies that we can enter into construction next year. The next one is Randolph Corridor, currently in design. This is a grant-funded project along with Slauson Avenue. We had council approve a concept plan for that corridor, and it's still in design. The next one is a facility improvements at Bristow Park Community Center and Library. That we are currently working with our Parks and Rec director, our library director, our architects, and public works staff on the design. We have had a kickoff meeting with the architect. We are meeting with him regularly and his team, and we've got a public outreach meeting that is scheduled on August 15th at 5:30 p.m. at Bristow Park. The invitations and direct mailings are forthcoming. There will also be a poster size invitation flyer at Bristol Park in the lobby in English and Spanish, letting everyone know. I know that Sonia has already and her team been working on gathering names of people that are attending or visiting the library who are interested in attending that meeting. So we've already got a list going of people that say that they're interested in attending. Next one is Mixmaster Phase 2. This is coming pretty soon. So we're looking at August for construction. It will be done at night. We will need approximately 2 weeks to complete this. We're gonna get through this as quickly as we can, and I apologize now, but we're just gonna have to try to do our best during those 2 weeks to either avoid that area, but we will have a traffic control set up. There will be detours. There will be one lane open during that time, but it will have to be reduced to one lane. We are coordinating also with transportation so that the buses, the routes will proceed and be able to still meet the needs of the community. And I understand that the transportation director is in communication with Metro as well with their bus schedules. Next one, Bandini Library. You see that that project has started. We actually completed this week the hazmat remediation. So we are moving forward. That is the best part. All of the mold and asbestos and everything that's been in there just because of the age of the facility and unfortunately because of the leaking roof that caused mold has all been removed now. So the next step is we're going to start working on the construction aspect of the design, and that would include working first on some foundation work starting next week. Pathways for Hope, another one that we are in the process of starting. The contractor has been on site this week. They are mobilizing. We have placed some signs out just so that hopefully it addresses some of the questions that the community would wonder what's going on here. So flyers are going out to those that would be impacted. We are starting at Bandini Elementary, and that would include Leonis and Counts, the parkways, improvements there. The mural aspect of that project will be handled as a separate item following this one. The next one is the BVAC windows, doors, and fans. That one is Design is completed, the building permits have been issued, equipment orders have been placed, and we're looking at coordinating that installation with Parks and Rec, most likely in the winter time of this year. Next one is, yep, I skipped one. Citywide street lighting improvements. We are still working on that master plan that will be coming to council next couple of months for adoption. And then we will use that to prioritize where we can improve lighting in the community. Next one is street pavement rehab. That is starting also. We've already had All American Asphalt here this week, starting actually tail end of last week, filling cracks on roadways. They will be working at night on Easterns, starting tomorrow night. You will start to see the effects of them being here in town, and they will be working on pavement rehab throughout the city for the next 6 months approximately. Next is, oh, it's a little slow. Rosewood Park meeting room divider. That was finally able to be ordered. We had a bit of a difficult time trying to find a company that would produce the doors that we needed to divide. There is one there that's been broken for many years. That was approved as part of the CIP program. It has been ordered, and we will update council as it is delivered and installed. The very last one was a Telegraph Corridor Improvements Project that was only from Atlantic to Mariana, and that concept was originally approved, but then we found out that the COG was also working on a multi-jurisdictional concept plan for Telegraph Road, and at the time, council decided to just hold off on implementing any of the design that we were working on at that time. So that's on hold. We'll wait and see what the COG comes up with, and we've shared our design concepts and everything with them. They have those details. They're going to incorporate what they can as far as their plan goes, and we'll come back with an update on that. Okay, so street improvements. Also, Garfield median improvements. This is coming. We've already awarded a contract. That contractor is on board. They will be starting next month also, and that is from city jurisdiction limit to limit, south limit to north limit. So that will be a huge improvement for that corridor. We've got the last one was the roundabout that council had recently approved for a pilot program. So that is in design. We are working out the details of that, and we'll update the council at a later time. What I'd like to now do is there is a spreadsheet I believe before you, a hard copy, and also this attached to the report. So the upper gold bar area are the recurring projects and services that council has been approving a Measure AA budget for each year. The only one that has been added for this year for consideration is the second line item, which says street repairs, pothole patching. That has been in the past paid for by the general fund. But it seems appropriate that it would be covered here as part of the Measure AA item rather than general fund, as the pavement management program has always been paid for by Measure AA funds. So that's the only change there under the recurring projects and services. And then the green bar area is the approved projects in progress, which council has already approved previously, but may need additional funding. So if I may call your attention to the blue column to the right. There you go, Kevin, thank you. The yellow, highlighted yellow items are those that council has already individually approved. And to the right, it indicates which meeting dates. So those are already approved. It's those below, the $3 million for Randolph Corridor. Now, Randolph Corridor project is fully funded, 100% grant funded through reimbursement. So what we had done last fiscal year was to only ask for approximately half of the monies to be up front from the Measure AA funding source. Now we're asking for the other half of that money. It will be 100% reimbursed after the project is completed. Next item are the bridge repairs at multiple locations, another $50,000. We are part of an agreement with Pico Rivera and Downey for the Rio Hondo one that needs work. So we are asking for additional $50,000 for that. Flooring replacements at multiple facilities. We started that this past fiscal year. We'd like to continue. That's $200,000. We completed the Bandini Craft Room and Kids Club Room and BVAC Sports Office area last year. We have the I-5 freeway southbound Eastern Monument sign. That one is at $1.8 million for construction. The next one is the Mixmaster Phase 2, which is 3.4. That is under consideration this evening for installation of the permanent overhead signs. And then the red bar area are the new projects that are requested for this current fiscal year. And I'll just run down them quickly. First one is Washington Boulevard, dedicated right turn lane, predominantly paid for by another funding source. So we are once again just upfronting the cost. The difference would be $100,000 out of Measure AA. That after we've gotten reimbursed by the grant, we would still have $100,000 that would be charged to Measure AA. Pavement rehab for 24-25, we are requesting $4.5 million. There's roof repairs replacements. We would like to also continue that project and do City Hall and Veterans Library. Street lighting improvements, that's once the master plan has been approved by council and prioritized, and we would like to start having some money to implement whatever it is that council would like to prioritize for this year. We have Bandini splash pad replacement, and this would be for design. And Rosewood playground replacement, once again for design. Restroom partition and tile replacement at Bandini and Rosewood Parks. They desperately need to be replaced. We've got 2 excursion replacement buses, which would be a 7-year lease, and at the end of the 7-year lease, the city would own them. And then we have fleet maintenance software program for $200,000. Unfortunately, the transportation department had a cyber attack and it destroyed the program, so they've been tracking everything manually. And that essentially is what is before you this evening for consideration.
Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, if I may add, the strategy was to live within the means of the Measure A revenue on an annual basis. So as the Public Works Assistant Director stated, the monies that are being utilized to fund fully funded or mostly funded grant opportunities there'll be a fund transfer once those monies are recovered and once the city completes a project and get the monies from outside sources. But as far as a true expenditure of Measure A, it's the figure all the way at the bottom of your worksheet, the $6.9 million. That is part of the new revenue allocation of funds.
Is there any comments or questions, members of the City Council? Councilmember Linus.
Thank you, Mayor. Gina, thank you for the presentation. Obviously, a lot of projects in the hopper, and
Yes.
you know the team is working hard and diligently to make sure these get through. So, a lot of exciting things that are happening. If we could just maybe talk about the lighted monument sign at the I-5 freeway eastern exit southbound.
Yes.
So, I know that item came before council as a concept plan, and
Yes.
I think you're working with Caltrans right now to maybe get that approved. But I think while the concept's been changed, or I'm sorry, while the concept's been approved, I think there were specifics that, you know, that you heard from like different council members as far as like maybe potential changes, right? For example, we weren't a big fan of the orange background, right? And
Yeah,
like
those were all addressed. And so one of those was that there was not going to be that background, and it was
Right.
going to be the lettering that is on that pillar.
on the obelisk, right? Yeah, just kind of
Uh-huh,
like the
on
classic
Atlantic.
mid-century font. So now every picture or rendering I've seen of this monument is
I
the
know.
old one. So, you know, it's a significant amount of money that we're
Yes.
I guess proposing to fund for this, but are we going to see an updated rendering for that? I
Yes.
think I'd like to,
Absolutely. I'll get that right away. Send that over.
Okay. So that's the only thing. I think if we're going to approve a $2 million monument,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we all feel comfortable with what that's going to look like.
Agreed.
So
Not a
Thank you.
problem.
Thank you for bringing that
those
up.
are my comments.
If I may add, Mayor and members of City Council, I think as a whole, anything you haven't approved as far as the product itself will come back to you. Just because you're approving the budget doesn't mean you're approving the project. Just
It's not a commitment to,
correct.
right?
It's just you're approving the monies, right? So I don't know where they all are, but certainly, frankly, for my own education and understanding of what it is that we're doing, I think we'll proceed in that manner.
Okay, I'd like to, because not only that, but also there's conversations with Caltrans about approving a concept, and so will the design that we come up with still fall within the confines of that concept?
Yeah, we've gone back and forth with Caltrans a number of times over the past year. And in council's presentation, we had shared the information that they had approved and informally the concept plan that was being presented to council at the time. We wanted to make sure, and we had to revise quite a bit, and we had those conversations with council, and now is a good time for me to just briefly talk about that a little bit. It did change the height of the sign, it changed the length of the sign, it changed the design of the sign, it changed the landscaping that we had originally proposed. So all of that had been vetted with Caltrans and presented to council so that council, we didn't want to present something to council and then end up having to disappoint later by reversing it and going in Caltrans and then them saying, no, we won't allow any of that. So we did that first just to vet it with Caltrans first, and then we brought it to council. And you were able to make some adjustments to it, such as the lettering, the no orange on the background of the sign and stuff like that. So then that's what we would be presenting back to Caltrans for the official formal approval.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, as long as we're going to get something that we all want and we're proud of, right? That's the
Yes.
entry to the City of Commerce, so
Yes.
just want to make sure that we're doing a great job with it, so, thanks, Gina.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have
Councilmember
a quick,
Garcia.
yes, I have a quick question, Gina. I know there are projects that are in progress, but the bridge repairs at various locations, how does that work? Can you explain that to me, please?
Yes, so the county inspects the bridges and provides a report on deficiencies, recommendations, whatever the case is. For the one on Rio Hondo riverbed, it is shared ownership with the cities of Commerce, Pico Rivera, and Downey. Pico Rivera has the biggest jurisdiction of ownership for that particular bridge. Downey is second, and Commerce has the smallest jurisdiction of ownership. There was a homeless fire that occurred under it. There is some damage to the underside of the bridge. The county has recorded that in an inspection report and sent it to all three cities. So Pico Rivera is the lead agency for that particular bridge on any improvements or repairs and maintenance to the bridge, being the largest jurisdiction owner. And they have been attempting to get grant monies. So we've been waiting to see the outcome of that, but meanwhile setting aside monies so that we can begin as soon as we need to, whether or not we get those grant funds, and we would be reporting that back to council once we know.
And the monies that we're putting down, which is the 50,000, each city is putting that same amount?
Each city would have a different amount, so we would
Okay.
have the lease that
The
we would
lease.
need to contribute because we have the leased area
Correct.
of ownership.
And that's my question. Thank you.
And previously, I should mention, the column prior in the beige are monies that council had already previously approved. So you've already previously approved 150,000, so we would be adding 50 to that for a total of 200,000
Okay.
in an account ready to make improvements once City of Pico Rivera indicates they're ready.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I just had a couple of follow-up items, just briefly. Bandini Park, I think you mentioned there was some roof replacements, and I know we've had extensive discussions related to the leaking in the Bandini offices there. Did the tiles get replaced now, or
Yes.
are they are?
Everything is completed. The tiles are, the new ceiling was installed. Everything, that office was painted. And I believe staff's back in the office at Bandini that we,
Great.
all done.
All right, just want to follow up. I know we had extensive discussion about that, so that's why I'm asking. And I was there just yesterday, but we didn't actually look in there, so that's why I wanted to ask. Bandini Library, good to hear that they
Yes.
finally started the work. When is that anticipated to be completed?
By the end of this calendar year.
Okay, great.
We're
great.
hoping sooner.
Okay, great. Just wanted to get an idea more or less when we anticipate that being completed. Quick follow-up related to the street repairs, pothole patching. Is this, I know we have a street management program. We've gone through that, right, for the entire city.
Yes.
And we've done an analysis, and we've looked, and we know where each of the streets and each of the parts of the city are. We've rated them. And I believe that we've actually appropriated several $1 million to get them to a, not exactly the best, but I think medium range kind of, right? I believe that's what we appropriated, and it was in the neighborhood about $4 million, I believe, you know. But I didn't realize that that did not cover patching, so
No.
it doesn't cover that.
No, the program that has been implemented year after year for many years now is strictly for the street repavement rehab. Not, potholes are more maintenance. And so I would always kid and say, well, you know, when I was just doing maintenance, I'd always say, well, I'd have less maintenance to do with the more streets that are rehab, but they go hand in hand. They're two different things. One's maintenance and one's, you know, rehab that's going to last at least, you know, 5, 8, 10 years sometimes.
Okay, thank you. And I know that during that process where we've done the work on the streets, there's also been some rework that they've done. That is not part of that, right? They usually, that's covered as part of the work that they were supposed to be doing. I know previously we've had different areas that weren't quite done properly, and they've had to go back and redo them basically. But that's separate, correct? Okay. All right, and let me see. Thank you. I appreciate that, and I believe those were the only questions that I had, I think. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you for your report. And I believe they need some direction on this, and that would be, so the recommendation would be for the city council to consider adopting a resolution approving the capital improvement program for fiscal year 2024-2025 and provide directions to staff regarding priority projects. I don't know if we got any feedback on priority projects, but I think we need to approve what's being recommended.
Right, so Mayor, if there are no changes to the proposed projects or the scope of projects, then the recommendation is to approve the budgets as presented tonight.
Okay, great. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion and a
I'll
second.
second that. Thank you.
Is there any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you. Kevin? Okay.
And that takes us to item number 9, professional services agreement with, I hope I get the pronunciation on this right, Vivace
Yes.
Designs for mural installation for the Pathways for Hope project.
Yes, I'd like to just do a quick recap, and we're going to go through the murals and then staff's recommendation and council's discussion. This is a Caltrans Clean California Cycle 1 grant for $411,800. You know, just for a little bit of clarity, this is part of the Pathways for Hope project. We separated the infrastructure construction aspect of it that is now underway from the murals portion of that grant. So for the portion that's murals, we have $411,800. We're going to go through the 3D renderings just so that everyone can see these 3 locations that Vivace Designs had come up with. Council had initially approved the concept plans, and then we received the cost, which were much more than we were expecting. They surpassed the grant amount that we have approved. So Kevin, if we can go through the first one. Of the entrance of that tunnel, and next one, and 2 murals inside on the walls, and you can spin it around. We have one side with one depiction, and then the other side with a different mural. These were concept plans that council had already approved. Okay, next one. And last. Okay, and then that would be the other side of the entrance heading towards Bristow Park. So if we can go to the next location. Okay, so this is Leonis Tunnel, pedestrian tunnel only. That's part of the mural project. So if you can go to the next slide. This one includes, next please, 2 murals inside the tunnel. Council's modification to this one was get rid of those crazy black and white stripes that were originally part of the design, and instead do some sort of clouds or something else in the background that was a little less distracting. If we can go to the next one. This is what, Vivace kept the flowers and added the clouds, and it would be both sides. As part of the infrastructure part, there will be improved lighting in the tunnel, so it won't be as dark as it is currently. But for now, tonight, this is just focused on the murals. And okay, and then if we can go to the last one. So the last location is on Telegraph Road. As you exit or enter the city, depending on what direction you're heading. And it's all these pillars that are under the freeway. Next one, please. That would have these depictions of essentially water polo. It also includes, if we can go to the next one and focus in on, there's another on the audience of next one, Kevin. Up there, yeah, zoom in on the, okay, so if you recall, it's not just the pillars, but there's this portion, there's an embankment, and then there's a flat portion directly underneath the underpass that is actually an audience. It's a mural of an audience overlooking the water polo players that would be on this, as part of this mural project. Okay, and if we can exit that, and we can come back to any of those if should council desire, but I'd like to go back to the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so here we have options for council consideration. If council would like to do all 3 still, the total cost, as you can see, is in that first column of just over 1.1 million. And that would then require, once we subtract out the 411,000, approximately $718,000 that council would need to approve as an additional appropriation. Should council wish to go with option 2, which are the 2 murals that are in the 2 residential areas only, That cost is approximately $688,000, and the council would be contributing $277,000, roughly. And option 3 is only doing trigs, and that cost would be approximately $509,000 total. Subtracting out the grant amount, council would contribute just under $98,000. As part of staff's recommendation, we recommend option 2 for consideration this evening, which would be the 2 residential murals, the Leonis Tunnel and the Triggs Underpass. And the cost of the city would be that $277,000. And we recommend that that be charged to the Art and Public Places. With that, we can return to anything that you'd like or discussion.
Yeah, we'll go into discussion on this item. Any comments? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Gina, for the presentation. So personally, I like option 2. I did have a question about the Telegraph Underpass. Does that area fall within the jurisdiction of the Telegraph Corridor project that you just referenced in the previous item?
It would, because it's still part of the city's jurisdiction limits. We could always, if you want in the future, include some sort of art as part of that corridor improvement, separate and as part of a separate project.
Yeah, I think that's where my head is at right now. If that's something that we're going to address through a separate project potentially, and since we're already dipping into our own funding, right, it's no longer reimbursable from the grants. I think if we could look at that project holistically, because we're doing the pillars and we're doing the walls, but maybe there's a way that we can arrange an agreement with Caltrans, or I think that's Caltrans land, the hills that are leading up to the wall, to maybe landscape that, just because I think if we're doing the murals and the pillars, but that stays as is, I think it's a little underwhelming. If we were to maybe just capture that in one large project, right?
Yes.
And somehow work out some type of agreement with Caltrans where we can maybe landscape those areas, right? It would make the murals a lot more attractive, right? Leading into the city or coming out of the city, depending on which direction you're going. So I personally like option 2. And keeping option 1 or the Telegraph mural for consideration once we look at that project as a whole, right? That corridor as a whole. So, those are my comments, Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Can you go back to the options, please?
Sure. Back to the options screen. That there?
Yeah, that's fine. First off, I really want to just let council know that I have an issue with directing funds from art and public places to these projects here. In the beginning, there was just my understanding that Caltrans was going to pay for the art. However, I do see the increase in the pricing. The reason why I don't want to use art and public places funding is because we've designated an area for arts and public places already. We have the map, and this is nowhere near that area. So I really would like the funds to stay within that district.
Okay.
So if we want to pay extra for any of this art, I'm asking City Council to find funds from Measure AA or General Fund to use those funds. But I think that the amount of funding that we have right now in the arts and public places, it might seem like a lot, but it's not. Because as we can see here with this art, how expensive it is.
Yes.
And I would say we're pretty limited on what we have to focus on the map that we've created. So I'm not going to approve. I mean, I'm not going to want to move forward with using the funds from art and public places to fund all of this art here.
Okay.
If funding is an issue, then I would go with option 3 and figure out where you're going to pay the extra $97,000.
If I may make maybe a compromise, if council wishes to not proceed with the funding source that is recommended, then perhaps we do Measure AA, but with the beautification category.
How much, what's the amount of money we have in that account?
Let me think about that one. We haven't used very much over the years.
I'll tell you what, while you're looking that up, I'm basically of the opinion that we should probably go with option number 2 as recommended. And I like the great suggestion that you brought up, that be looked at separately. But that still leaves us with the funding source, so.
So if I may, Mayor, I know we have a healthy fund balance in the Measure AA funds as a whole. Whether that classification qualifies or not, we can figure out. And as far as moving forward tonight, you can direct staff to utilize those specific funds if available, and if not, just utilize fund balance of Measure AA. Part of the reason that this format was exercised today is that we wanted to make sure that we spent within our means, but do have an understanding that we did have a fund balance that originally some projects are being located there, but by doing this strategy, it allows us to use those fund balances in situations like this where you want to preserve art and public places funds for specific art projects. So I think I'm comfortable, if the council's comfortable, directing staff to utilize unassigned fund balance of Measure AA, whether it's that specific category or just the regular fund balance.
Okay.
For
So
option number
basically, yeah, for option number 2. So the motion would be then to move with option number 2, and the balance that needs to be addressed there, the 277.96 would either come from Measure A, or it would come from the other fund. What was the other one?
Beautification?
Beautification? Okay.
Yeah,
so
it's
we're
beautification
gonna-
portion
either
of
one.
Measure
One of
AA.
those we'll use for the,
They're restricted funds within AA. They're also AA funds, but they're more restrictive. But I think the direction is clear.
okay. So that would be the motion then that we would entertain.
Okay, I'll move with that motion.
We have a motion, second? Second. Is there any objections? Seeing none, motion passes. Gina, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, and that takes us to item number 10, confirmation of 2024 weed abatement charges.
This is an annual program. The Department of Los Angeles Agricultural Commission, they assess all the properties, and usually it's vacant properties and that have overgrown weeds and rubbish. And today we're just confirming the cost of that assessment, but already that's for the previous years. And then once they assess the properties, they charge the property owners if they don't remove that weeds in abatement, and the department cleans the properties. At this time, I didn't receive any cards for speaking, but it's a public hearing. I recommend that we open public hearing.
Okay, we'll declare the public hearing open at this time. Anybody wishing to address us on this item can do so at this time. Seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing. And we have a staff recommendation, Lena, and that would be items 1 and 2 at this time. Is that correct? We've done the public hearing, so we'll move to item number 2, which would be to confirm the 2023-2024 weed abatement charges and as recommended by the Los Angeles County Agricultural Commission. Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any objections? See none, motion passes. This concludes this item. All right, thank you. And if this takes us to our city council reports. I'll start to my right with Councilmember Garcia. Ladies first.
Thank you, Mayor. So I did attend the library grand opening, or ribbon cutting. Great job, Sonia, putting it together, and it looks fabulous. I'm excited for the community. I also attended the South Coast Air Quality Management District Media event held here in our city at Bandini Park, along with my colleagues. Just a quick recap, our U.S. Senator Alex Padilla, who announced nearly $5 million in funding which would help curb greenhouse gas emissions from the freight sector as well as improve our air quality. So that's a good thing. It's a good start. I also want to mention that I attended the dance banquet on 6/29. I know it's a little late, but I do not want the dance team to go unnoticed. It was a spectacular event that was put together with Anthony Gutierrez and Nancy Valencia. Continue to do a wonderful job with your dance teams. Lastly, I want to thank Anthony Aguila, our graphic specialist. I think that's his title. Not too sure. For taking time to make sure our photos are turn out great and always accommodating our requests. Oh, good Lord. And it's much appreciated. Thank you. And that concludes my reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Garcia. And I'll move to my left, Councilmember Linus.
Thank you, Mayor. Yesterday, I also attended the announcement of the South Coast Air Quality Management District, the grant that they received. It's a $500 million grant, and it's going to hopefully really make an impact on, you know, some of the issues that we suffer from, you know, by being positioned between the 5 and the 710 freeway, and also flanked by, you know, BNSF and Union Pacific. And so, you know, there's a lot of work to be done, but this is a very good first step. And, you know, I do want to thank, you know, city staff and Greg, the Parks and Rec team, you know, just doing a great job of setting up and, you know, really making a good impression for the different, you know, attendees that came from different areas in the region, because I know there were a lot of audibles called with that, you know, announcement, right? You know, it was scheduled for Friday, and then I think there were some security protocols that they wanted to reassess, and so then it ended up being on Monday morning. But because it was Monday morning, started at 8 a.m., there were staff there at 5:30 in the morning, like getting everything ready. So I know a lot of work went into making that happen, and just making sure the stage was set for Senator Alex Padilla to make that announcement. So thank you to your team. I want to also acknowledge the great work done by Public Works and the library staff and everybody involved for the patio area that Councilwoman Garcia just referenced. There was a ribbon cutting a couple of hours ago. It felt like a couple of hours ago, maybe 3 hours ago, but it was a great event, very welcoming space. I'm a fan of open spaces, and I love how you could transition from the cool air conditioning in the library to kind of like basking in the warm glow of the summer sun outside, right? And just being there, being able to read a book. I think you had some seeds where people could maybe plant a garden. So a lot of things going on, but all very beautiful, great space, and a good time. So thank you for that great job. I want to congratulate the boys who were out at the Junior Olympics, the water polo athletes, you know, this past weekend, and I think their competition ended today. I just want to congratulate them for their efforts and representing the City of Commerce on a national stage, right? It's the Junior Olympics. There's several different teams from all over the country, and, you know, our athletes are always there and representing, and I know our coaching staff does a great job of making sure that they're prepared and making sure that they perform at the highest level. So, you know, I'm very proud of them, as I'm sure all of my colleagues here are as well. And I do want to wish our other athletes, right? I think there's the 10U girls and the kind of like the mixed 10Us that are going up there later this week up to San Jose, so up to the Bay Area to represent our city as well. So wishing them the best of luck. I'm sure they're going to do great. And I won't say make us proud, because they've already made us proud, but play hard and do your best. You know, that's what I'll say. I want to congratulate the Commerce Aces for a strong showing at the Baseball Forever tournament this past weekend. And I want to wish them good luck as well. Best of luck to them at the San Diego Global World Series next week. I know that's going to be a big tournament for them. So, you know, just best of luck to the coaches and the players there. And lastly, I'm looking forward to seeing everyone at National Night Out on August 6th. It's going to be right here adjacent to City Hall. And I'm sure staff has something wonderful planned for us all. So those are my reports, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, I also attended the event at Bandini, and I just want to really acknowledge AQMD and EPA and the federal government for allocating the $500 million that they're stating that this is going to be measurable results to start to clean our air, and I believe it's going to be from Long Beach down into the southeast. So pretty excited about that. And also, we did get some information on these air filters that are that they're offering for the Commerce residents, and it's free. And they're saying that this device, that it picks up very small particles, and it's worth about $1,000. And some areas in City of Commerce, the residents can get it for free. The mayor sent it to me yesterday, so we can give a flyer to our management so they can put it out there for the residents. I think that they're saying that City of Commerce is the only city that hasn't applied. The residents have not applied for it, so I think we need to get the information out there so we can start to apply for it before they run out. Also, I did attend the garden reading patio event, and I think it's a beautiful patio what you guys created. So congratulations! I acknowledge you guys for creating such a beautiful space. I like the doors, how they can just open up and you have that feel indoor, outdoor. You can sit outside, read a book, drink some coffee. But congratulations on what you guys are doing, beautifying the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And yeah, I just wanted to basically follow up on the South Coast Air Quality event with Senator Alex Padilla, of course. I really appreciate, and I think his remarks were along the lines of the collaboration between all of the agencies. And they tend to previously be pointing the finger one at the other, anytime these issues would come up. Well, that's not our responsibility. And they would constantly be, pointing at each other or not working together. And he indicated that they've been working for a little over, I guess, close to 2 years now on coming up with the collaboration and putting this plan together and getting all the funding that they received, which is excellent. $500 million, which I understand was the most amount of money that they had received related to this. And for the southeast area, which is great. Obviously, we're a heavily impacted community along with the other cities, and we're looking forward to some of the funding for this that will help reduce emissions in our community. So I think it was a great event. Again, thank you, Greg. We heard a lot of comments as we walked in there from different staff commenting about how wonderful our Parks and Recreation staff and everything, very accommodating and willing to help and set up. They were very accommodating to try to work with everybody to help them. We heard a lot of good positive comments. I'm sure the rest of the council also got some of those same comments as well. But overall, it was a great event, and we're very pleased that they selected the City of Commerce to come and do this and do the announcement. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to attend the library grand opening today, the patio area, but I know I've been out there before and I've seen it, and it looks wonderful. I like it, and I think it's going to increase the amount of patrons that will be coming and enjoying that. It's a very inviting environment. It really is very inviting, and I think people will enjoy it greatly. And I think it will continue to increase the number of participants that utilize our library. So congratulations, great job to all of you. I believe I also wanted to point out that we were at the conference, ICA conference, which was in San Diego. And it was a very, very good conference. I thought there was a lot of good topics. We hadn't attended in a while as a city. And now I believe we're now back involved. We're members of ICA. But we hadn't attended. It's been several years now, and that I've attended. I know I haven't. I believe you've attended, and others we have in the past. But it really was a very good event, and also it gave us a good opportunity to talk to various members of other cities related to this bill that we're very concerned with as a city, as a gaming city. SB 549 is moving through the assembly right now, and it could have a very negative impact on our city. So we were able to talk to different members of different cities and explain to them a little bit about SB 549, and not only that, but get their support. So we are preparing letters, and we've sent out some already, but we're preparing letters and trying to mobilize each of these other cities to start calling our respective assembly members, our respective senators, and letting them know that we are very much opposed to Senate Bill SB 549. And basically, what it will do if it moves forward, it's going to allow the tribes to challenge some of the games that are currently being played in card clubs throughout the state of California. And it could have a very, very negative impact on many of the cities, and we're one of those. In the case of Hawaiian Gardens, I mean, they're dependent up to 70% of their annual operating budget. In the case of Bell Gardens, they're like 50%. In our case, we're at 40% of our annual operating budget, but overall, it could have a very devastating impact to many of our communities, and that's why we're very much opposed to this bill. And what we need to do, and we've been working very hard to leverage each of the communities that it would affect, but not only the communities like our city, Bell Gardens, Hawaiian Gardens, and others, but we have the population, I mean the voters, and these folks that are voting on this bill, I think we need to hold them accountable, and we need to inform our constituents about, what their representatives are doing by supporting a bill like that could have a negative impact in their communities. One, reducing the amount of money coming into their respective municipalities, but also, remember, these casinos are regional engines for the entire region. They employ well over, I believe the number, I want to say it's over 32,000 employees statewide. So we're looking at, there's going to be a lot of layoffs potentially, not to mention that a lot of the funding that we get from our card clubs is used, a lot of it is used for public safety, a lot of the programs and services that we all enjoy. So that's why we're trying to work as hard as we can to try to make sure that we don't see this bill move forward. So it was a very good conference, but it also gave us a good opportunity to sit and get some people on board, and I'm hoping that we continue that dialogue and reach out to more members of other cities to get them on board. And this is where each of us as council comes in. I know you each attend different meetings. For instance, I attend the Sand District on every 2 weeks. There's different meetings we all attend. This is a good opportunity to begin to have those discussions with other council members from other cities, and we need to get others on board as well. I know during the meeting I talked to Huntington Park, talked to the city of Norwalk, talked to the city of Azusa, and they were all receptive. So letters will be going out to them and others. We did have an opportunity to already have conversation with Supervisor Janice Hahn, who is going to be supportive as well. But we need to leverage everybody that we can get behind us on this to try to see if we can, avoid this bill from moving forward. So again, that concludes my report. Thank you. I hate to take so much time, but I think it's very important, and I know we'll be getting more information out as we develop the appropriate strategies as we move forward to try to, make sure this bill does not move forward. Thank you, everybody. And when we adjourn this evening, we'll be adjourning in memory of Ruben Rendon. He's one of our seniors. He recently passed away. Unfortunately, he had a stroke, and he succumbed to that. He was in the hospital for several days and did not make it home. He is Ruben was the dad of Alex Rendon, who serves. I have Alex Rendon. He serves on our Measure AA committee, and I've known Mr. Rendon for many years, but I never knew that was his son. And I recently found out, within the last year, I found out that was his son. But I knew each of them, but never realized that was Alex's dad, unfortunately. But anyways, we'll be adjourning in his memory our meeting today. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. That's it.